Good night, Trendsetters. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Good night, Phill. How are you?
Hey, doing well. Beautiful day.
Yes, yes, yes.
All day.
I'm glad to hear it. We started having some vocabulary words last week. Oh my goodness. And that went really, really well. Thank you, Phill, for, breaking things down so cohesively. I mean, you really helping the community out with understanding language and terminologies that help us to understand all this financial hoopla. This is what this is what this part of Trendsetters is about, and I greatly appreciate your efforts. Tonight we decided that we were going to throw out a couple more words. Hopefully, in the process of it, we may get a visitor, and let's
Join the
see how.
conversation. Hmm.
Yes, yes, yes. That will add and enlighten us in a whole different spectrum,
Yes.
as
Mhm.
far as real estate and understanding obtaining wealth through real estate purchasing and things of that matter. So I'm hoping that we can have that conversation tonight. If not, I'm prepared for when it can happen. At least for right now, let's start with our vocab words. I'm going to read off the list and you're going to help to break it down.
Okay.
Let's start with very basic words. Last week we started with some words, but they were like terms in regards to business, right? This is what you had informed us. So let's back up a little while. We're gonna come back to that, right?
Yeah, we were helping that parent with how she can communicate how money works to, well, she had a 5-year-old.
Right.
So
But
yeah, so we really had to break it down.
we always said that that's the ideology, that's the concept.
Hmm.
But everyone, whether you're an adult or whether you're getting ready to visit Jamaica or you just came out the womb, everybody on this platform, we're going to treat like a 5-year olds to make sure
Hmm.
because that people have a full understanding of what these concepts are, because sometimes we may have an understanding but not a full understanding. We may have some knowledge but not full knowledge, and I think that this is where we want people in our community to be, to have a full entire. We don't want to just know about it or run with some speculation or something that we've heard. We want to
Hmm.
make sure that everybody has an understanding
Yes,
of financial terms so that they can understand the process in financial security, right?
correct.
Right. So this is what it's about. You're a financial strategist, but for us to understand these strategies, we have to understand the words that
The
that'll
basics.
get us
Yeah,
there.
yeah, the basics.
You understand? We gotta
Basics.
understand the basics, the foundation of where all of these things are gonna come out, right? So we're going to take it down a couple of notches again, even though we used very basic words last week. We're going to start from the very first word that we should be communicating about. I mean, because how I look at it, Phill, we got people from all different countries here in America, and everybody has their own concepts about money, but they don't understand what Americans feel about money, what American is founded on, what their precedences are. And that's how people kind of miss the mark, not really understanding and incorporating the American money flow way of thinking. You understand what I'm saying? So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to help the communities out into learning the American way of gaining financial wealth, right?
Correct.
Okay.
The
So
value
let's
system.
start with the very first word that we should be thinking about is money, right? The first word. What is money? And in the definition, let me read it to you. It says the coins and paper bills that we use to buy things,
Mhm.
right? So it even gives us an explanation. It says that you can think of money as a way to trade for toys or food or anything else you want.
Mhm.
So money, what would you say? What is Phil's definition of money?
Well, I know starting from money, it was before money, we just bartered goods for goods,
Right.
and it made it was a very efficient system at that time. But when you really start looking to move large numbers, large items, you don't want to take a shipment of corn for a shipment of cattle. If you can just have a, a tool to be able to make the transfer easier. And this is where they develop coins, or even now we've got paper dollars, and then we move forward to even the point of checks and credit card and electronic transfers and all of these different things. But money is definitely the vehicle that we use to get what we need and transfer what we want from one space to the next. So I want to get uh I want to buy a house in I'm in New York and I want to buy a house in Texas, then I'm not going to drive all the way to Texas. If I'm there, I can do an electronic transfer, but it's still considered money.
Okay, so we're gonna stop. Let's get back to before you start with all of these terms like checks and electronic cards and
Mhm.
electronic transfers. Let's go back to money itself,
The
okay?
coins and the dollar bills.
The coins and the dollar bills. We're gonna go forward. I'm gonna ask you about checks. I'm gonna ask you about electronic cards. I'm gonna even talk to you about electronic transfers, which is
Mhm.
something that, is more modernly used, right? Everybody understands it, but there's a few that's still not too sure about
Sure.
how this, okay? So I want to finish the conversation. I like the fact that you brought up how it started. America was, all over the world, we were bartering at one period of time, right?
Right.
Just like you said, I
Mhm.
got two cows. You
Mhm.
got a wagon, I'll trade my two cows for your wagon and, oxen and all these words were big words back then, even
Correct.
slavery is in that mix of, currency.
Currency. There you go. And we're in Black History Month, so people need to understand that, yes, slaves were a currency. Um, which bank? One of these huge bank, a couple of the banks that we know right now, they were holding slaves as security,
Yes,
as,
yes,
as investments that you can transfer, a family from this family to that family as a currency note. So
oh,
yes, so it's um it's quite an interesting country we live in, you know, that we can put a human as a dollar amount on a human being. But if we go all the way back to like how America was built and how America what not what's built was won, right? So you have to go back to the fact to, when if you go back to some of the movies and you see, the prairies and people are, in their wagon and they're moving from from the East Coast to the
yes, yes,
West
yes,
Coast,
yes,
and, then you have what is a safe way, to carry your cash,
absolutely.
right? And after a while,
Because
then they
at that
develop
time, during those prairie times, you see how they used to rob the wagons and they had bags of coins
coins, right?
and gold and
Mhm.
real serious
Yeah,
metals back then. And That's where the cowboys and
Correct.
Indians,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, so you're absolutely right. So they had to move into a more conducive system.
Right. An easier way to conduct and more so not even conduct, you know, one pound of rice is worth this and 1 pound of chicken is worth this. But then, who wants to be weighing chicken and weighing rice, but you have bills that, okay, this is a $5 bill, this is a $10 bill, this is a $20. So it was an easier way of accounting for everything that was going on in that transaction. So then they developed, you went from coins or, of coins of different metals as well, because
Right.
you have a gold
Yes,
coin
yes,
that is worth something
yes.
more than just a
Yes, they
copper
had
coin.
silver coins, they had copper coins, they had
Yeah.
gold coins. So
Yes.
they did have,
Mhm.
and at one time we were under British rule,
British rules, so right.
different type of currency altogether,
Hmm.
you
And
know.
we still have different currencies, and now we have a way now of making the transaction using money, but of different currency. And now we have currency exchange calculations as well. So okay, the Chinese dollar is worth X amount, and the US dollar is worth X amount, and the English pound is worth X amount. So then you have all of these different calculations now that is involved in that whole transaction. So money was definitely the way. And you can go all the way back down to the Roman period. They were using coins. All the way up until when, I guess, when paper was um was
Established.
a much safer way, because counterfeiting was something from even in that era as well. So even today, people are counterfeiting the money.
Mhm.
So, and that's why you see we actually have kind of like shifting as much as possible from carrying cash or having as much paper moving around in circulation, depending on the quantities, because then money now, having money and dollars and cash on you now became a risk to your life, your personal life and safety, by walking around with money. So
Okay,
that's where we have
so
moved from there to credit cards.
we're gonna go back to come forward, okay? Because
Mm,
you mentioned again, you always throwing in some great things that we need to touch on. So money again is coins and paper bills that we use to buy things, right?
correct.
This is it. The more money you have, the more you can purchase. Why? What we're here to help you with is when you start to accumulate your money, what are purchases that you or investments you should make? And that's another term we're going to talk about. What
Mm,
investments you should make to attain goals towards financial wealth. And that's what Heidi and Phill have
yes.
a platform for.
Yes.
Okay, financial strategies. Okay, so that's money. Now, you said money, now we talked about money being coins, and that's everybody knows the penny, the nickel, the dime, the quarter, and we have some 50-cent pieces, and we also have some dollar pieces going around as well, right? So those
Mm,
are all the coins that we use as far as money is concerned in this country. And we also use the dollar bill, right? So
mm,
the $1. There's some $2 bills still in circulation. There's some money that is no longer in circulation. I know in America we had the $500 bill, we had the
mm.
$1,000 bill. These bills are no longer in circulation, but
Well, worth a lot of money. Even some rare old, even some old, you can get an old penny that is worth a lot of
yes.
money,
Yes, yes. So if
you
you
know?
still, and pennies are now getting really extinct. So if
Yes.
you still
Hmm.
have pennies, you better check that date on your penny because it can
Hmm.
be worth upwards of $20,000 sometimes. So
Correct.
you
Hmm.
gotta really look at things. Don't just take that penny and throw it in a drawer somewhere.
Yes.
Or I see some people just take coins and throw them in the street.
People don't understand. I
You
back in.
know, but I know there's some people that stop their car when they see a penny on the street and pick it up.
Mhm.
You understand? So
Uh,
it works
mhm.
both ways. They got some that don't even understand the value of, you know, saving, right? And then even a penny, every penny counts. That's what they say. Every penny counts,
Oh yeah.
right? So, and they got some people that'll say, "What? Are you nuts?" You know, and would stop their car, jump in the
Mhm.
train track, and go and pick up. I've seen it. I, I'm not calling no names,
Oh yeah. Yes.
but I've seen it. I've seen it, Phil. I think I think I've seen it all. All
Mhm.
right. So we talked about money. Now, you mentioned something. You said something really interesting, and I don't think that I know for a fact that there's a large percentage of people in our community that don't know about these things. They heard about these things, aren't familiar with these things. And it's funny because we reached a stage where we don't really use them anymore. But let's talk about it. And this word called checks. What's a check, Phil?
Oh, okay. So again, a check is it's a promise to pay. It's a promise to pay for
Mhm.
something,
Okay.
but the value, and it's based upon what's actually in somebody's account, or supposedly what is in somebody's bank account. So someone, and I use the term supposedly because we know of bounce checks, and because
Wait,
somebody,
wait, wait, wait. Let's stick to one thing. What's a check? And then we're gonna go to what's a bounce check.
yeah, right, so it's yeah, so the bank, so the bank gives you your checkbook, and in that checkbook says that you have, so you got 20 checks that you can write back in the day, and you would pay your phone bill, your light bill, your gas bill, right? And maybe you would go, yeah, people had cell phone bills back in them, or your beeper bills, you know,
No,
right?
I know that
You could go onto the groceries.
checks for kids that graduated from schools and things
Yes,
like that, right?
yes.
You know, and so you write out this check to Heidi,
Mhm.
Washington in a dollar amount, $5, and Heidi would take that and go deposit that piece of paper. It's a piece of paper.
Mhm.
And deposit this piece of paper into their bank account, or I believe that
Correct.
some cash checking places, that's what they have,
Right.
cash
You
checking.
still do it. You still have cash checking.
And I believe that you can take that piece of paper to the bank or cash checking institution and get the dollar amount
Or
that's written on that check, right?
paycheck. Your paycheck you get from the company.
Your paycheck you get from your company is also a check. All
Correct.
these things are checks, right? Or
Mhm.
if you have some what they call this, like if you were in a car accident and you have a claim, you get paid in a check. These things are checks,
Mhm. Right.
okay? Right? So this is what a check is. Now,
Mhm.
like Phil was saying, if there could be a time somebody writes you a check and no money that day in the bank to cash the check.
So,
No money in the bank, no money in the bank. They bounce the check. Now you're liable because your banking institution is going to say, excuse me, we cashed a check for you, but there was no money there. So now
mhm.
you in turn have to pay a penalty
Right, for bouncing that check.
for bouncing that check. So it goes both ways. It goes both ways. They will have to pay a penalty for writing a rubber check. It's called bouncing a check.
Mhm.
And we too have to, because if we were given the money promissory, we have to return it. We have to restore the money. Like, where did this money come from?
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
There's times where we cash the check, the bank will give us the money before they get the money, and then they realize there's no money there.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're liable for that money. We
Yeah.
gotta, yeah. So we then become liable for repaying the institution the money that they.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that's sometimes that is, that's a double. a double penalty.
Whammy.
Yeah,
Yes,
because yes, the person who bounced the check has to pay, and then you who bounced the check has to pay.
you
Yeah,
who
so
deposited the check, the rubber
yes,
check have to pay.
correct. That's yeah, you got it. Yes, and it can ruin your credibility.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And this is another reason why we have check cashing institutions, because some people have bounced more than one or two or three checks,
Hmm.
and the banking institution is just not receiving any more checks from them, no matter where the check is coming from.
Hmm.
So
Yes,
that's a whole problematic system as well,
correct.
which led them into creating electronic cards, right? So
Mhm.
these credit cards, can you tell us, all of these are words that you've spit out. I'm just, letting the
Yeah,
folks know what we're talking about. And this is the terms, these are the actual terms that they use to refer to some of these things. So electronic cards are credit cards,
right.
right?
And it has the ability to connect direct electronically to the bank account to see what's actually there. So
Mhm.
even when you go to a check cashing place, you have at the bottom you have your routing and your bank account number, and then you're going to see a couple of barcodes on that. When they scan that through, they could actually see some of what's going, how valid that um, check is before they even pay it out. So that is one of the ways that when especially when you're talking about electronic transfer,
Wait,
which is
sorry, Phil. I was talking about electronic cards, which are credit cards and things,
Mhm.
and debit cards, credit and debit cards, right? So,
Credit and debit cards.
we're going
They're
to talk
able.
about debit cards first because we're talking about how it relates to money.
Mhm.
And then we'll go into credit cards and we'll talk about how that works, because I know that this is something that a lot of people get into trouble about. This
Well,
card thing.
the
So
debit card.
let's start with the
Debit
debit card.
card.
Right.
But the debit card, you're only withdrawing from what you've got. That's it. If you have $100 in your on your card, like a prepaid card, right? You would have it give you $100 and so all you can go and withdraw or shop is up to 100. Maybe some of the new cards will allow you a grace, maybe to go $10 over it, but that $10 that they're giving you, which is an overdraft, could actually there is now a cost for that overdraft as well. So
Right.
with a withdrawal, the debit card is just withdrawing from what you actually have. Now, a credit card is way different
Yeah.
because
Talk to us about
yeah,
that.
well, the credit card is where the bank has done some background check on you to check on your credibility, whether or not that they could extend to you credit, right? And in doing that, then they're saying they're actually ensuring that money that they're lending to you is insured, that if you do not pay they get paid. So all monies are insured, and all debt is insured. So when you go and get a credit card from the bank is saying, well, I trust you, and I'm going to allow you to use my money. Well, it's not even the bank's money,
Right. So, but let's leave it like that.
depositors' money.
Now, you got a card, from what I'm understanding you saying, that the bank, no matter what institution it is, it could be a store, it could be a store credit card, it could be a bank credit card, it can
Mhm.
be a credit card of any denomination, where they're going to give you a card of X amount of money based on your background check that they
Mhm.
do and see how. So sometimes you can get a
And
card.
capability to repay it.
Right. So sometimes you get a card with a starting balance of 200. Sometimes you get one of $250,000. It depends on your history, as Phill
Correct.
was saying.
And
Okay.
what you have as equity.
And what you have as equity thus far,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So you're building, on these credit cards, right?
Hmm.
One of the things, there's danger zones with credit cards, right? So one of the
Absolutely.
things with the credit card is, yeah, I give you, and this is what trips a lot of people up in our community, right?
Hmm.
The first thing they do is they get one card,
Hmm.
and then what? Then they go and fill out for five more cards, not realizing, one, that this is damaging their credit because they're taking hard pulls on your credit report.
Hmm.
So this is very damaging on your credit report. And then two, some of the younger kids say, okay, I got $200 on this one. I have $500 on this one. I have $300 on that one. And then they go to Apple and buy some AirPods. They go
Hmm.
to the sneaker store and buy some sneakers with one.
Hmm.
And then with the next one, they take and go to dinner, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
We, we gonna eat tonight. We gonna get a broil. What is it? A seafood broil. And
Hmm.
we eating cancadang tonight. And then Friday, now our next one coming in the mail. Oh, drinks on me.
The dangers of it. The dangers of
Right?
it.
You understand? Somebody birthday come up, somebody make a call, have a new girl, them type of things just go on, right? Let me get my shorty her nails done. Them
Mm.
type of things just go on. You don't have to,
Hmm.
you understand what I'm saying? I'm
And the
gonna trash
danger.
out in a new outfit. You, and then, or, I know some people that's went into debt, and we talked about this during Christmas. So you spend a whole year
Yep.
paying off the debt that you went into at the end of the year, just to go
Hmm.
back into debt because you pay off your debt now. Your card's clean, so you go back into debt to go paying on debt for the whole year again.
And people's behavior would be different if they had gone to work and then they were paid in hard cash, and that's all they had. Then when they go out and they whatever, they go to that store, they go to this store, they go to that store, they go to that store, and then it is depleted, they would know when to stop.
That's so true, and that's something that we have to understand. But as you said, America's phasing money out to a certain degree, right? So we can't walk in with $200. It sounds good, and as you said, there's a safety thing now. With even walking around with any amount of money on you. So,
Hmm.
us in the communities really take, so even the elderly have been really, really victimized because of, people
Yeah.
anticipating that they're getting a social security check, and they know that they're going to the check cashing,
Right, and that's where a lot
and
of the
people standing outside waiting for
hmm
Miss Becky to come outside. No, 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 not Miss Becky. Miss Nancy
hmm
coming outside of the check cashing place with her poor little social security check and knock her over and take
hmm
her pocketbook and
to
go
take the
run.
cash, right? Yeah. So all of those things with the credit when the credit card um was designed to alleviate them kind of situations,
Debit
people
card.
the debit credit card as well, yes,
Mhm.
that people don't have to walk with cash,
Right,
because if you have a credit card, then the credit card isn't no good without the security codes
right,
that is needed to access the money.
right.
You know.
So, what Phil is talking. And, we can go as far as the banking institutions that release credit cards. They have high interest rates, and that's how they get paid on you using your money, on top of them
Yes.
fronting you. It's like a barter system. It's like a new wave barter system, right? I'm going to front you this money. You're going to pay me back with some interest, right? This
The
is
new wave, that's loan sharking, legal
right.
loan sharking. 20% interest on something that you're borrowing, that's more money than hard money. You can go to get a hard money lender and get money, and you can go buy a piece of real estate and pay 10%, but you go to the bank and you got to pay 23% on
Absolutely.
a credit card.
Yes. Yes.
The hard money lender is a better deal because at least you're taking the money to buy some real estate that at least has some appreciation. But if you go to the bank, use your credit card, like you said, you want to go hang out on the weekend, you want to get your nails done, all of those things are non-appreciating. Those are just waste of money.
And I think this is what got Black America in the situation where we're at now. We spend our money on tangible items and
Pretentious lifestyle.
and things that depreciate in value
Hmm.
opposed to things that appreciate in value.
Correct. Hmm.
And we'll talk more about that. You
Yeah, because look, a wise kid with a credit card, right, would go to BJ's or
Here you
Costco
go.
and go
Here,
buy a whole bunch of candy, right, with his credit card, and then go out on the street, right? Now he's using other people's money, buy a whole bunch of candy or whatever, if it's, or let's say, bottled water. You follow what I'm saying? And now that is using other people's money, and it is worth paying the 23% on a transaction like that. But if you're going to go buy a sneakers with your credit card, and that sneakers, you're going to wear it out, right? At some point in time it's not going to be worth anything, then you're not using money wisely. So that is the problem, is with the credit card, is not using it wisely. If you got to go and buy food, okay, that's okay, right? But when you're going to buy things that are going to depreciate, that is not a good use of other people's money, because we move from your money when we started out at the beginning, when it's your money because you worked and you get your coins and your dollar bills, that's your money. But here now, since now we are moving forward now and we are talking about credit cards, now we are talking about using other people's money, right? The problem is when we're using other people's money, which is the American system, it's using other people's money. But when you're not using other people's money to your benefit, then you're using it to your own financial detriment. That is the problem.
and that is a problem. That's the problem right there. And this is what we talk about all the time, going into debt, and we'll talk more about that later on. One of the words that you mentioned as well, and I'm only going off of how you broke down money, right? You used another term called electronic transfers. Can you talk to us about what electronic transfers are?
So so okay, so let's stick with real estate.
Okay.
That so the bank, you're in Florida, and you're
Mhm.
buying a house in Florida, but the bank, the head bank office, is in New York. So you're at the closing and you need the money. The bank has to fund the transaction. So the money has to come from Florida to New York, right? So it could come by train, plane, or courier vehicle. which will take a couple of days, and that money has to be sent ahead. But when you are at the closing table to fund that thing, what the bank does is just send an electronic transfer from one bank to the next bank, and it's safe and it's done electronically.
So what the bank does is take my money from one banking institution, let's say Chase,
Mm-hmm.
and send it to TD Bank if that's where the closing is expected to occur.
Where that specific bank um, closing agent is
Mhm.
affiliated with, because the money is going from there. Or it could just go into that account, and at the closing, then a check is actually being written to say, okay,
Right.
this is the check from this bank that represents your the seller's money. And they're walking away with a check that the money. So that's an electronic transfer.
Right. So we can do electronic transfers and we do electronic transfers.
With
They're
our
known
credit
as
cards
Zelle,
and
right?
debit cards.
Right. So we can also do Zelle payments now,
There we
and we
go.
can do other money transfer platforms. We use other, you know,
Mm.
what they call it,
Cash App,
Cash App,
mm.
the
Venmo,
Venmo,
yeah,
yes, all
yeah,
these
all of them.
other,
Mm.
those are electronic
Money
transfer
transfers.
platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah,
And that's where money is taken out of your account and sent into another account. That's what an electronic transfer
transfer.
is.
Mhm.
Okay. So you said you used something when we were talking about how we convert dollars to other currencies, right? So we
Mhm.
know that in Asia they have yen. We know that in let's say Britain they use,
Wrong.
the pound and things
Mhm.
of that nature. And it doesn't quite total up the same sometimes, right? So certain currencies in third world nations, let's say, have
Mhm.
lower value than the US dollar. So we have to figure out on a money exchange, right?
Currency exchange.
On a currency exchange,
Mhm.
right? So that's why I said money so that we can relate it, right?
Mhm.
But on a currency exchange, um, how much money are we going to get for the American dollar, right?
Correct. Mhm.
And how much, and on this currency exchange, we also know how much other people's dollar is worth,
It's
right?
worth.
Other countries' dollar is worth.
Right. Their
Right?
currency.
So it's like a calculator.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right? It's like a calculator. We can pull it up now on our phones.
Yes.
There's um there's currency exchange locations in certain parts. I know that we got one on 42nd Street out here in Houston. They got them in the Galleria, and there's certain, places where you can go that do have currencies exchange where you can convert money. Like sometimes when going out of the country, you got to convert some of your American dollars to that currency if you're going into another country so you can have some cash on hand when you actually land,
Correct.
in doing your trip. And vice versa. That's what people do when they're coming to America as well,
Mhm. Right.
right?
Correct.
Sometimes you run out, so you need some more money, so you need to convert your the currency that you have, and you go to these currency exchange locations. So that's what
Mhm.
it is. It's the finding out how much money it is in conversion to the
Yes.
American dollar. Okay?
Absolutely.
So we're done. We finished with money. Money.
Yep. We did. We're
we-
we're complete with
I
money.
think that we So the next word on the list, let me get it for you in its full definition. This is funny because the word is spend. And I don't think that we really need a definition of that. However, we're gonna go through the definition
Yeah.
because we sure know how to spend it, right?
Right.
So spend is when you use money to
Mhm.
buy something. For example, if you see, if you want to use your money, the money that you have saved, and that's a different word now. So the
Mhm.
money, that's the next word coming up. So the money that you saved, the money that you have accumulated, let's say
Mhm.
to buy a pair of shoes,
Mhm.
right? The purchase is called spending,
Correct. Mhm. Yes.
right? So elaborate on that for us. I know that we all know spend, but dig deeper down into spending and
Well, yeah, well, spending is basically um, using cash to acquire something that you want or something you need, um, with the expectation of just getting that specific item and nothing more, which is, I know I'm gonna, if I'm gonna buy food, I'm gonna buy the food, I'm gonna eat it, and I just get the nutrients out of the food. So if you're gonna buy clothes, you know that the benefit of what you're spending the money from is to be clothed, right? Or if you, that's all your expectation is when you spend. It's just different from the next word, I guess, what you said we're gonna do, which is invest.
no, no, no. The next word on the list is save. So we not
Save.
we however, let me go back a little bit with this spend, right? Because what you said was quite interesting. If I'm going to buy some clothes, that's all I'm spending is based on the idea of spending this money on clothes. However, that pocketbook
Mhm.
sure match those clothes and those shoes and maybe some earrings.
You know, you're spending. You went from spend to spending
I'm
without.
spending, I'm spending, I'm spending. This is the problem, Phil. This is why you here I'm
Most
on
like, most
spending
like,
AA. You got me in spending AA, okay? I mean, look at
yeah,
me. Fred.
that's a
The thought alone, Phil. The
yeah,
thought.
because yeah, you could only do that, like I said, because you don't have cash in hand. But because if you had cash in hand and you know that you worked all week long for this 500 or this $1,000, you're just not going to spend it like that.
I
But if you
think
have a
that
credit card, you don't feel the pain because the pain actually is your this money just departing from your hand going into somebody else's hand, knowing that there's no more. That then that's when there is going to be how
and
people
poor
can
spending,
control themselves and
right?
control the
So
spending.
poor spending comes with some type of self-discipline,
Should.
right? And this is very important that you touched on it. Spending comes with some, because sometimes we do go out there with 100, $200 and we said, this is the limit, this is all we got. And then we go with our electronic card
Hmm.
and go and take out more. And this is where things get a little
Yeah.
off
Off
track
control. Yeah. Yeah. The
as
budget.
far as our savings and our principles and our discipline and all of that thing. It's hard, but one of the things that I encourage people to do before they even go out and shop is to find out how much things are beforehand.
Hmm.
Get your eyes in, whatever eye candy you're going to have, get it all out, because when you go actually into the store, now things won't be so tempting.
Hmm.
You have to discipline your thoughts. Like I know that that's already going to be out there, and you really have to say to yourself that this is what, men have a different philosophy with shopping. I remember going shopping with my husband. I'm going to get some cologne, and he beeline to the counter and back is behind, back out the store. And I'm like, oh no, let's go on the second floor. I want to see something. And that's when
Hmm.
get into spending, like you said,
Mhm.
right? And that's what can trip you up, and we get into trouble, right?
Mhm.
Another thing that you said was when we work hard for our money versus having a electronic credit card or a debit card, and we're spending on money that we worked hard for. I think that and I hear this so much. I think that a problem that we have with that whole concept is we feel as though we need to be rewarded when the paycheck comes.
Mhm. Nothing
So
wrong in that.
we splurge on something that it we really have to really start making conscious decisions on what's the bigger treat. You understand what I'm saying? If I save from that from this urge of buying something right
Mm.
here, right now, and look down the line at a bigger picture and save up all those treats and just say to yourself, you know, I'm going to save this $100 and that's going to go towards my house saving.
Mm.
We were talking, we're going to talk about saving, or I'm going to continuously just throw that urge away for the bigger picture, we would definitely be in a better place. But some
Yeah.
of us are so not used to having that when we actually, and I hear this so much, Phil, that when we actually get it, they believe that they just want to get it out their system before they start to
Well,
save.
two things there. It's delayed self-gratification,
Mhm.
right? And lacking a big vision for the future. So if you got a big vision, like you said, saving for the house, then that is something that is going to be, that's the magnet that pulls you there. That keeps you disciplined, that keeps you focused because you have this big goal for the future. But outside of that,
Goal is the main thing. I think that and I'm not cutting you, I'm so sorry for interrupting your thought, but goal is such an important word in the whole dynamic of this process.
mhm,
Because one of the things that I often say, Phil, is, and this is something that I've made up of my own, is a man without a plan has nowhere to stand. And it's a goal. If we don't have or make goals for ourselves,
or the
if,
parent set goals.
if we, Phil, when I come back to New York, I'm going to pinch you with this parent. Okay?
Mhm.
And throw that out the window, because if my parent didn't know any better about setting goals and being disciplined and things of this nature, that's an unrealistic expectation. So I'll keep telling you, stop putting it on the parents, because we as a people, we really weren't taught these type of things. Some people really just don't know. And
Well,
if I'm surviving, like we talked about so many times, if I'm surviving, I don't have time to take on additional lessons.
patterns of behaviors that people have, they're modeling, they're mirroring. It's coming from somewhere, you
It's
know.
coming from patterns of poverty, and we all know that. That's why we're having these wealth conversations.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay,
The
because
poverty is a mindset,
right. So
it is a mindset because
right.
people move from poverty to prosperity by just a mindset
So
shift.
this is where we at with shifting the mindset. We have to make it not seem so grand when you driving around with a nice car parked outside of a apartment,
Correct.
or living in the basement apartment at that,
Hmm.
renting a room at that, which a lot of our people
Hmm.
do.
Or
I've seen
not even paying a rent.
I've seen BMWs renting rooms.
Yeah, but then you have people that refuse to pay a rent and they squat. But you see
Not
that
talking about that. We're not talking about your money right now. We're not getting there. Whatever. We're not even talking that. We staying positive. We
you're
trying to
staying
show
positive.
people how to obtain.
You know, we're not dealing with
We're
scam.
not retracting back to certain mindsets. We moving forward, 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 forward.
Mm-hmm.
We're not looking back. We trying to pull people into a
Oh,
different
mm-hmm.
mindset. So we already understand that, that's not going to work because we talked about it last week that if we continue to with the get over, we're not ever going to get out of.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we got to get out of the get over mindset.
Playing the system, using the system.
We got to get out of that. We got to get out of that. That didn't work for us for this long because you trap yourself up in one game to the next game to the next game. It's all a hustle.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to hustle. We can do things the right way and get a better, you know,
Yeah, have a strategy, and this is what it is. This is what
this
this is
is the
what we're
plan.
talking about. A strategy to a
Strategy.
discipline strategy, a strategy, and then have a discipline, self-control, you know, to get there.
And those things are not easy. We're not suggesting at all that you just wake up one day and you say you want to save and you say you want to do this and you say we're not saying that. Sometimes you do fall off the horse. Sometimes you do fall back and you just want that one slice of cheesecake that's going to cost $20 and and what you know.
Uh,
However, however,
wow,
so we gotta
$20 slice
really
of cheesecake.
Phil,
Yeah, yeah,
you
that's a lot
talking
of
about me, you
money.
know. I know where I can get a piece of cheesecake for $20. That don't mean. All right, so let's continue. Let's continue to have these financial conversations where we talk about money and we break it down and we try
Mhm,
to build on financial strategies. One of the things that Phill did mention to me last week was that he's very interested in talking to you guys more about mm, tax. What we're not gonna do with your refund? What
mhm,
doing with that refund? That's something that Phill is really concerned about, especially under the new administration. He really doesn't want to see the Black community out there spending foolishly, you know, not saying or not demising anyone's plans, but we really have to think long-term goals in this time. This time really is sit on all your goose eggs and plan and come up with financial strategies to take
mhm.
you through what's going on right now. You
Invest, invest, invest. You got, yes, yes, you absolutely, so your tax refund is what you're asking back is a loan that you've made to the government. And now the government is giving you back on your loan that you've loaned the government out of your paycheck, which is the taxes that they tax you every day. So you get it back at the end of the year. But now when you get back your money, now what are you going to do with it? Are you just going to blow it away, or are you now going to manage it? And that's the key. How are you going to manage that money? How are you going to slice it up to make it grow? So the discipline is money is seeds. So it want people to look at money that way, not as something that is expendable, but just look at it as seeds that you could plant and they can give you a bigger harvest. So if people start thinking of money from an agricultural viewpoint as to what I am going to use, so let's say you got $1,000, right? And an oak tree seed is $100. And now you're going to take half of that, right? $1,000 and plant 5 oak trees, and that in 20 years, that oak tree, you're going to cut it down, make lumber out of it, and then sell it. Or you can take lumber out of it and build something. People would have a different perspective because I'm normally giving people a visualization of something grand. Because it takes a while for an oak tree to grow, but think of all of the lumber that you're going to get from it. You can build houses with it. So if people now could actually grasp that visualization as to what money is supposed to do and how it's supposed to work for you, then they will stop having and allowing other people to get wealthy with their money, which is what people are going to be doing. It's like during the pandemic, they gave checks out,
Right,
right? But
right,
you've heard success stories from people who got their checks and started businesses. But
right,
then you see that there were some people, they just went all out and they just blew it back. So I
right.
always have this saying that, yes, I'm a reparationist, but we got to get reparations, but no reparations should ever come out of the US government until a college has been created where everyone has gone through a particular course of training on money before reparations are given, because that money is going to be wasted and not benefit the
Our
government.
communities,
Correct.
our communities,
Our
and
community.
our communities. And that's what this financial conversation is about. This financial conversation is about how we can build our community, how we can funnel and rotate the dollar within our communities, how we
Mm-hmm.
build and expand our communities and not have the monies into go so quickly out of the community.
Or
I
the community.
understand
Yeah.
that what is 6 minutes, it only takes the black dollar 6 minutes before it's outsourced out of our community.
Correct.
We have to understand how we can grow the dollar with
Mm-hmm.
our own community. We
Absolutely.
gonna we gonna stop now on that. We're gonna come back to you. We're gonna talk more about having these type of conversations about taxes and how to invest your tax refund. Next week, we'll talk more about the vocabulary words and break them down.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully we'll have on some guest speakers like we expect to have on and
Yes.
talking about different ways to accumulate and strategies to accumulate wealth. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to speaking with you again.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And we on, this is what we do. This is what we do, so
Yes.
you guys, you have a wonderful, safe week, Ben.
Yes. Please do. Be careful
And
out there.
thank you. And, reach out. We have things that we need to put into motion and reach out. I saw that you tagged me to that what is it, Bed-Stuy website. Thank you,
Oh,
Bedford.
yeah. Yeah. We're having an in-person workshop in Bed-Stuy for those in New York area
Okay, so
on the
talk to
19th.
talk
That's on the 19th.
okay, so talk a little bit about what exactly is that and where is it going to be?
Yeah, that's going to be the address is 410 Nostrand Avenue. It's an in-person, and we're going to be Al Brown. He is the mortgage expert. He will be giving people all of the strategies, A to Z in the home ownership process. And then, my financial team will be there also giving people financial strategy. Because in life,
No, I
in,
just want you to
right?
talk to, tell the audience what you guys are having. They're having a financial workshop, from what I understand, on
Mhm.
home ownership
But we
on
want,
the 19th, right? What time on the 19th? 1440, what's the address? 1440 what?
no, 410 Nostrand Avenue.
410 Nostrand Avenue. What time?
That's 6:30 to 8 p.m.
6:30 to 8 p.m. Is open to the public?
Open to the public. Refreshments would be served because we know people coming from work, so we want people to know that, they can just come straight there, and won't be sitting through a workshop, with any hunger pangs. So
Okay, so you
what
said
we can do for us.
1410 Nostrand Avenue?
So 410,
410
yeah,
Nostrand Avenue at what time?
6:30 to
6:30.
8 p.m.
Refreshments will be served.
Yeah, and we want people to we want to plant this main thought in, or like I should say, enforce the reminder that the goal in life, in everything we do, go to school, go to college and all of that, get a job and everything, the end goal is that you want to be retiring in your own house.
And
And
we'll talk more about why home ownership is important and why it's a key in generational wealth.
correct. Hmm.
Okay, so we'll go into having these conversations more, but you guys who are interested in learning more about ownership and strategies that will gain you wealth in obtaining homes,
Hmm.
Phill Benn and his team will be out on the 19th at 410 Nostrand Avenue from 6:30 to 8. As he said, they'll be serving refreshments because they understand that you guys will be shooting out there after work or after a long day. And you're going to be sitting down and talking with the experts. They're going to pour into you guys really some great information. I hope that you guys take advantage, come out and learn about, some financial strategies on home ownership. All
Absolutely.
right, Phill, I'm gonna wrap it up with you. It's been great talking with you as always. As always, I'll see you
As
next Monday. And
always.
we'll be talking throughout the week. So you take care.
You too.
Trendsetters, next Monday, same time, same channel. Trendsetters Talk. Find us on YouTube. Come on, support, share our videos. Let these conversations go around the globe. These are not just for one community, these are for all.
Yes, everyone's facing the same challenges, and everyone should have the same goals and dreams in life, to do best for themselves and create generational wealth.
Couldn't have said it better. Okay, you guys, you take care. Take care, Phill. Thanks again. Good night.